He lowered his voice as he reached this point, complaining in a volume only the two of them could hear. But he said I'm useless. Hearing this, Lily nodded. He's right. Although the night had been chaotic, Lily considered the incident a closed chapter. The fire was merely an unexpected event, and Sanyan just happened to be one of its victims. She completed her report, submitted the news segment for approval, and moved on. The follow-up responsibilities for the victims were no longer her concern. She collected the keys from her previous rental, returned them to her former landlord, and officially said goodbye to her old apartment. Since she hadn't run into Sanyan again, she saw no need to bring up the postponed dinner via text. Her only immediate problem was finding a new, reliable roommate. Vivian had finished transitioning out of her job and moved out completely before the new week began. To solidify her image as a stellar roommate, Vivian repeatedly reassured her before leaving, promising to help find her a new housemate so she wouldn't have to worry. Since co-renting was a long-term commitment, Lily hadn't intended to live with anyone Vivian introduced. After all, the people Vivian recommended would likely be strangers. If conflicts arose, finding a new place would only add to the trouble. But with Vivian being so enthusiastic, Lily could only politely agree. She had already asked Chloe for help and was waiting for updates. If that didn't pan out, her last resort would be posting an online ad. The next day, Jonathan was just about to head out when he received a call from Sanyan. There was a trace of impatience in Sanyan's voice as he got straight to the point. Help me run a place. Jonathan was confused. Somewhere close to the bar. I'll only be staying for a few months. Once my place is renovated, I'll move out. Are you nuts? Do I look like a real estate agent? Can't you just go back to your own place? Fine, I'll just move in with you, Sanyan said before hanging up. Wait. Not expecting such shamelessness, Jonathan gritted his teeth. Pick a neighborhood, and I'll ask around for you later. Silence. A few seconds later, Sanyan replied, Xanadu watching? After hanging up, Jonathan suddenly recalled something Vivian had mentioned to him over the past few days. Her tone was a mix of complaint and coquettishness, asking him to help find a new roommate for her current roommate because she just couldn't find anyone suitable. Jonathan felt the urge to curse. Since when did his image as a tall, rich, and handsome man resemble that of a real estate agent? While contemplating whom to ask for help, a thought struck him like lightning. Wasn't Vivian living in Xanadu watching? If Jonathan's memory served him correctly. And her roommate. Wasn't it Lily? Jonathan paused mid-dial, raising an eyebrow. As the year-end approached, the frequency of various events increased. Lily found herself busier than usual. Sometimes, she didn't even have time to go home, treating the news station as her second home instead. She was utterly exhausted, so tired that she felt she could fall asleep standing up. The endless overtime left her no time to think about other things. Even the frequent encounters with Sanyan had ceased, and he had once again become the distant, disconnected old classmate she hadn't seen in ages. Whenever she had a rare moment of leisure to think of him, the only thought that came to her was, they probably wouldn't cross paths again. Sunday evening. Lily had finally finished her tasks and managed to carve out a break to go home and rest. Unlocking the door with her key, she stepped into the entryway, only to see the back of a man. The man was tall and thin, seemingly just arriving as well. His shoes were still on, and a suitcase sat beside him. Lily's mind went blank, and she stopped breathing for a moment. She immediately recalled a burglary case she had followed a few days ago, where the victim was stabbed twice for resisting the intruder and was still in a coma at the hospital. Hearing movement, the man turned around. Their eyes met. When she saw his face, the terrifying scene she had conjured up instantly dissolved. She let out a breath of relief, her legs feeling a bit weak. The panic that had risen was replaced by sheer confusion. What are you doing here? Sanyan frowned. I was about to ask you the same thing. I live here. Lily's mind was a mess, and she could only focus on one question. How did you get in? As she spoke, Lily noticed the key in his hand. It was Vivian's spare. After a long pause, The incredible thought forming in Lily's mind was confirmed as San Yen spoke. I just moved in. For Lily, this development was no different from a disaster falling from the sky. And it had arrived without any warning. Forget consulting her opinion. Vivian hadn't even mentioned finding a new roommate. Even though this was a matter directly affecting her, Lily now found herself completely out of the loop. The decision had been made without her knowledge. She found it absurd. Even someone as composed as Lily couldn't help but feel a flicker of anger upon processing the situation. She stared at San Yen, resisting the urge to kick him out immediately. Judging from San Yan's earlier reaction, it was clear he was unaware of the circumstances too. Lily wasn't in the habit of taking out her frustration on others. Calming herself, she bent down to take off her shoes. Then, pointing to the couch like she was hosting a guest, she said, "Why don't you sit down for a bit? I need to make a call to figure this out." San Yen remained standing. Without waiting for his response, Lily walked into her room. It was already close to 11 p.m. Lily's original plan had been to quickly shower and go to bed after coming home. She hadn't anticipated having to deal with this mess. Without considering whether Vivian might already be asleep, she directly dialed her number. After about 10 rings, the call connected. Vivian, who had been indulging in her beauty sleep, was evidently annoyed at being woken up. "Who is it? Are you crazy? People are trying to sleep here." "It's me, Lily," she said calmly. Vivian groaned. "Can't this wait until tomorrow? I'm so tired." "I don't mean to disturb you. I just need to ask something." Lily's tone was steady and neutral. "Did you give someone else a key? There's someone in the apartment now." "Huh?" Vivian sounded more awake now. "Who's there?" "It's not my boyfriend, is it? You better not be trying to steal him from me." "It's not," Lily replied. "It's San Yen." "Oh, that." Vivian exhaled in relief and explained, "I just remembered. I've been struggling to find someone to take over my lease and couldn't help venting to my boyfriend a few times." Lily listened patiently. "He probably didn't want to see me so upset, so he secretly took care of it for me." "It's supposed to be a surprise," Vivian added in a sweet, proud tone. Lily had expected some degree of apology, even a tiny bit. Apparently, she had overestimated Vivian. To say she disliked dealing with such things would be an understatement. She always told herself that as long as it didn't affect her life, she wouldn't argue with anyone or take sides. "Just live with him," Vivian continued. "It's no big deal. Besides, San Yen is tall, handsome, and comes from a wealthy family. Doesn't that mean you're kind of benefiting from this?" Lily was so furious that she chuckled, curious to see how far Vivian could stretch her nonsense.